A picture book. An accident. My secret heart was exposed by the whole school. The picture book is full of him, enchanting, the schoolboy of a university, the high and cold god of the law school. I, on the other hand, am just an art student who has been secretly drawing him for a year. In order to get back the album, I summoned up the courage to ask him to be my model, but I did not expect. This crush is a romance that runs in both directions. I had a crush on Ethan, and the whole school found out. The sketchbook that was hung up at the Lost and Found was filled with drawings of him. I heard that he came from a poor family, so I took advantage of the situation and added him as a friend on Instagram, asking him to be my art model. He accepted in a second. I didn't realize the sketchbook was missing until the next day. By the time I knew about it, the post on the front page of the school's online forum had already reached over 1,000 replies. Half of the people were discussing who the owner of the sketchbook was, and the other half were talking about Ethan's face. The thread starter posted a photo of the first page and started to marvel at his beauty. The campus heartthrob really lives up to the name. This looks amazing. The boy on the paper had neat black hair, a smooth side profile, a high nose bridge, and a small beauty mark at the corner of his eye, looking clean and sexy. Even as a sketch, his stunning looks were still hard to hide. Numerous people replied below. Tisk, the owner of this drawing must really like Ethan. I covered my face in despair, my fingertips burning hot. Yes, I liked Ethan. During the freshman military training, a mandatory orientation activity for university students, I fell in love with him at first sight. We were in the same class but different faculties. He was in the law school, while I was in the art school. On the first day of school, Ethan became the campus heartthrob just because of his face, causing quite a stir. I had been secretly in love with him for a year. However, I never expected that before I could confess. The fact that I had a crush on him was known to everyone like this. I put on a hat and a mask, planning to secretly retrieve the sketchbook. I was stunned when I found out that the sketchbook had already been claimed. Who did you say claimed it? Ethan. The guy looked at me and gave a subtle smile, as if he knew everything. Since yesterday, no less than 10 people have come to claim it falsely, so we finally decided to give it to Ethan. A question mark slowly appeared above my head. Why does he get to claim it? Of course because all the drawings in it are about him. The guy said it with full confidence. Me. That's right. There was no name on it. Come to think of it, giving it back to Ethan really had the most convincing claim. But he left his Instagram. He said if the owner of the sketchbook comes to ask for it, just contact him directly. I stared at that Instagram handle, on the verge of tears. Right in front of me was the Instagram that so many girls in the entire university wanted to add. But who dared to add it? Others probably didn't dare to lie to him. And as for me, I just wanted to die from embarrassment in a more decent way. After careful consideration, I finally came up with an idea, asking him to be my model. Rumor had it that Ethan came from a poor family and would take on part-time jobs whenever he had time. I had seen him many times at a coffee shop off campus. The boy was tall, slender, and stood out wherever he was, like the living billboard. Even though I didn't really like coffee that much, I always went there. And then, I would find an opportunity to get the sketchbook back. Yeah, that's the plan. I took a deep breath and added him on Instagram. I suppressed my heartbeat and decided to strike first, deliberately filling out the notes on my friend request. I absolutely couldn't let Ethan find out that the sketchbook was mine. Hello, may I ask, are you interested in being a part-time life model? The next second, Ethan approved the friend request. Is this the power of capital? I stared at the hello from the other side, feeling slightly dazed. Then Ethan's next sentence snapped me back to reality. From the art school? The words, art school, were my minefield right now. Thinking about that whole sketchbook filled with Ethan's sketches, I couldn't even imagine what Ethan thought of the art school at the moment. So embarrassing. Although I didn't have much interaction with Ethan, I had deliberately run into him many times. His back during military training, his side profile in the lecture hall, the black hair that fell when he bent down to place the coffee. That sketchbook was filled with him. If only I knew about it, the sketchbook would be a romantic record of a girl's secret crush. But unfortunately, now the whole school knew, and it was simply my shame. Would he think that some pervert was secretly in love with him? Cry. Hello, Ethan. I'm Emily. I'm in urgent need of a life model recently. I wonder if you're interested? Probably because the payment I offered was generous. Ethan agreed very straightforwardly. We made an appointment to meet at the art studio at 3 p.m. to talk in detail. Ah, Emily, you're going on a date with Ethan. My roommate and best friend, Olivia, jumped right off the bed, looking extremely excited. Don't talk nonsense. This is a proper business deal. Besides, I had a more important task to do this time. I had to figure out a way to get the sketchbook back. Olivia had a mysterious, I understand, smile on her face. Yes, think about it. You two will be together for several hours. In a way, isn't that like dating? I doubted for many times how Olivia, with such math grades, managed to get into University A. But this was indeed the first time I was officially getting in touch with Ethan. I changed 3 sets of clothes, mustered up my courage, and rehearsed over and over again what I would say when we met before stepping out. When I arrived, Ethan was already in the art studio, just sitting there. He was a work of art. My heart started beating fast again. He suddenly turned his head to look and then stood up. Emily? I walked over, putting on a polite and proper smile, but the next second, my smile froze on my face. Ethan, you didn't bring a bag? The boy was tall, slender, and extremely handsome, but I double-checked. He really didn't bring anything. Ethan slightly raised his eyebrows. Do I need to bring anything to be a life model? Me. What you said makes a lot of sense. I forced a smile. No, it's just, I accidentally saw someone sketch you before, and I was quite curious. You know, art students, it's a professional habit. Cough. How could I forget to remind him to bring the sketchbook? How was I supposed to get the thing back now? Ethan raised his eyebrows and nodded, indicating his understanding. I reluctantly set up the easel. Today was a waste of time. Just as I was thinking this, the boy's cold and pleasant voice suddenly rang out. Should I take my clothes off? Staring at the boy's slender, fair fingers on the second button of his white shirt collar, my mind went blank for a moment. The room was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. Ethan repeated again. Should I? The boy I had a crush on was right in front of me. Who could resist this? I reluctantly moved my eyes away and pretended to be tidying up my paintbrushes. Huh? Oh, this. Not for now. You look great like this. Ethan, I was telling the truth. He was so close to me that I was already extremely nervous. If he took his clothes off, I couldn't guarantee that there wouldn't be a patient with arrhythmia in the school hospital today. Ethan was very calm. He nodded. Okay, I had to say, Ethan really had professional ethics. He even thought of this aspect. I, on the other hand, seemed flustered. I held the paintbrush and took a light breath. Then I'll start? I had to show him my professionalism. 10 minutes later, I regretted it. Ethan was sitting right in front of me. The afternoon sun shone in through the window, casting a faint golden edge on his delicate and smooth face. And when those eyes looked over, they were so cold. It was both ambiguous and abstinent, extremely alluring. The weather in early autumn, why was it still so hot? When he wasn't looking, I gently fanned myself with my hand. I had never endured an afternoon like this. Finally, when it was time to end, I let out a long sigh of relief. Okay, Ethan, let's stop here for today. As I spoke, I was thinking about how to bring up the topic of asking him to bring the sketchbook next time. Suddenly, a cup of iced coffee appeared in front of me. I was stunned for a moment, then looked up and saw that Ethan had come to my side at some point. The iced coffee was cold to the touch. I took it, my heart pounding. Was this an iced coffee he ordered specifically? You seem to be very hot. Great. My heart stopped pounding. I wanted to die. Ethan's gaze fell on my easel, and he suddenly fell silent. I glanced at the deliberately horribly drawn picture and finally found an excuse. Ethan, actually, my skills aren't very good, so I asked you to come to help me improve. If you don't mind, could you bring that sketchbook next time? I can use it as a reference and learn from it. Yes, that's it. Meeting my expectant gaze, Ethan finally slowly nodded. Emily is really studious. I pretended not to hear the hidden meaning in his words and thanked him with a grateful look. Thank you so much. I thought everything would go smoothly, but I never expected that a sudden downpour came and trapped both Ethan and me in the art studio. By the time the rain stopped, it was completely dark. Standing on the steps, looking at the lights reflected on the water surface, Ethan turned his head. Shall I walk you back? I originally wanted to refuse, but recently there was construction near the school, and it really wasn't very safe at night. Then thank you. I tried my best to look as calm as possible. I had never thought this road was so long. When walking side by side, I was even worried that he could hear my heartbeat. But when we arrived at the dormitory building, I suddenly felt that time had passed so quickly. I thanked him again and also wanted to remind him not to forget to bring the sketchbook next time. Hey, little girl, stop chatting with your boyfriend. The weather forecast said there will be more rain later. Come in quickly. The resident assistant poked her head out and shouted. I froze on the spot. Usually, there are so many couples flirting downstairs, and you don't care. Why are you being so strict when I just said one more sentence? I stammered and explained. Aunt, he's not. Ethan suddenly laughed. I stopped, and the rest of the words couldn't come out. He said, Emily, why are you so nervous? Ah, who's nervous? I'm not nervous at all. I put down the easel with a bitter look. The evidence of my crush on him is right in front of him. I'm being open and above board. Olivia gave me a thumbs up. Then should I call campus heartthrob Ethan for you now and ask him to return the sketchbook directly? I said earnestly. Olivia, you're being too hasty. We should let things take their natural course. Then I gave a progress report. Look, victory is just around the corner. Olivia looked speechless. So you haven't even seen the sketchbook yet. How long is this going to take? I'm a very optimistic person. Anyway, Ethan had already promised to bring the sketchbook next time. Then wouldn't it be easy to get it back? Finally, when it was time for the second meeting, I deliberately brought Olivia with me, asking her to act as needed and cooperate with me to successfully transfer the sketchbook. But just then, Ethan's classmate came to borrow his notes. So I watched helplessly as the sketchbook was also accidentally brought out. The classmate barely caught it but saw the last page. Huh? Ethan, isn't this the sketchbook of the person who has a crush on you? He didn't finish his sentence, and Ethan took the sketchbook back. But the classmate was obviously very interested. No way. No one has come to claim it yet? I just saw that there seemed to be the letter E written on it. He suddenly looked at me, deep in thought. Hey, if I'm not mistaken, classmate, your name is Emily? My heart skipped a beat. Emily. The letter E. That was the only writing I left in the sketchbook. Ethan suddenly looked over too. Fortunately, Olivia saved me in time. She raised her voice. Ethan's name also seems to have this letter in it. Emily, Ethan. The first letters of our names are the same, so I wrote that E at that time. I never expected that I almost got exposed because of this. Ryan suddenly understood. So that's it. He nudged Ethan with his elbow. Dude, I told you this must be because someone likes you. So, Ryan, if you don't want the notes, you can return them to me, Ethan said in a calm voice. Ryan immediately said, Hey? I want them. Dude, I still have to rely on you to avoid failing this semester. After this commotion, Olivia's and my plan fell through. Before leaving, she gave me a sympathetic look. Probably seeing how dejected I was, she gave me a hand. Come to think of it, Ethan, the first letters of your name and Emily's are the same. You two really have a lot of fate. Seriously, I've regretted bringing this woman here so much. An indescribable, subtle and awkward atmosphere filled the entire art studio. After several attempts to secretly hide the sketchbook but all failed, I tried hard to find a topic. Ethan, you seem to care a lot about this sketchbook. Ethan was quite straightforward. After all, it belongs to someone else. It's better to return it to her in person. As he said this, his gaze fell on me again. I heard that Emily is popular in the art school. I wonder if you can help me find the owner of this sketchbook? Me. It felt like the world's longest distance stood between us. The sketchbook is right by my side, but I still have to help find its rightful owner. I forced a smile. No problem. To show my sincerity, I even posted a status on my Facebook. The picture attached was the last page of the sketchbook, on which was the E written with the black marker that I was so familiar with. Urgent search. Olivia was amazed by this. Emily, the little overlord of the barbecue stall who doesn't get drunk even after a dozen bottles of beer, actually can be so timid sometimes. What could I do? All my courage was nothing in the face of my secret crush. Olivia gave a very constructive suggestion. Anyway, he's your life model now. If it really doesn't work out, you can ask him to take his clothes off. If you can't get his heart, getting his body is also not bad. I actually was tempted for a second, but in the end, I firmly refused. He works part-time so hard. How could I have such thoughts? Ethan really seemed to be short of money. He was very cooperative with all the requests his little employer, made. He was never late and was dedicated to his work. Sometimes when I accidentally looked up and met his gaze, I would even have the illusion that he had been looking at me all the time. His eyes were slightly deep, with a long and narrow shape, extremely black pupils, and although his eyelashes were not long, they were very dense. When we made eye contact, he always seemed affectionate. How could I resist? That deep hidden liking just expanded rapidly. I was always worried that one day I wouldn't be able to hold it back anymore and it would burst out violently. How about Just forget about that sketchbook. I fell onto the table and covered my face in despair. Anyway, it's all drawings of him. Just give it to him. I really can't take it anymore if this goes on. Are you serious? Olivia raised her phone. The news that he's working as a life model for you has spread. Now a lot of people are lining up to hire him. I was the first one. No one can steal him. But this was just my wishful thinking. There were too many people who liked Ethan. The school's online forum was abuzz with discussions, and countless people were eager to act. There were even one or two who were very proactive. Looking at Jennifer blocking the door of the art studio, I had a terrible headache. Come to think of it, the relationship between Jennifer and me was quite subtle. When we entered the school, I ranked first in my major, and she ranked second. Although we didn't have much interaction, we were often compared by others, and even Jennifer herself always tried to compete with me overtly and covertly. The most crucial thing was that she also liked Ethan. Hello, Ethan. I'm Jennifer. Jennifer had delicate makeup, a gentle voice, and a perfect smile on her lips. I wonder if I can ask you to be my model? Such a beauty speaking softly. It should be difficult for anyone to refuse, right? I secretly peeked at Ethan, only to see his expression was indifferent. He raised his hand and pointed at me. Sorry, I'm already hers. Although I knew he didn't mean anything else, I still felt my face heat up a bit. At the same time, I clearly saw the smile on Jennifer's face freeze instantly. She forced a smile and said, I can offer more money. Ethan didn't say anything, but I obviously felt the temperature around him drop several degrees. His voice was even colder than usual, and a hint of impatience appeared between his eyebrows and eyes. Jennifer also felt that the atmosphere was wrong, and the smile on her face could hardly hold. Then, Ethan said lazily, Do I look like I have a lot of free time? Just 7 words directly shattered Jennifer's last line of defense. Her face changed, and she turned around and ran away. I still hadn't come to my senses even after sitting down in the art studio. What are you thinking about? Ethan's voice brought me back to my senses. I instinctively raised my eyes. After hesitating for a while, I asked, That, just now, Jennifer. Ethan paused and said, I don't know her, and I don't understand. I don't know why she came either. After he finished speaking, I realized later that he seemed to be explaining. I quickly waved my hand. No, I didn't mean to blame you. After all, if someone offers more money than me, you have the right to choose. Emily. Ethan interrupted me. I thought I made myself clear just now. Huh? I was stunned. But, why? There was an opportunity to earn more money. Why not take it? Ethan looked at me steadily for a while, then suddenly looked away, as if looking at the scenery outside the window. After a long while, he said, You're different. This time, my painting not only didn't improve at all but regressed instead. It was simply terrible. Ethan took long strides and came over to take a look. I felt ashamed for once and lowered my head. That painting is really difficult. Huh. God knows that for the past few hours, all I could think about was Ethan's words. You're different. How could I have the mood to care about the painting? Ethan seemed to laugh. It really is. It seems that I still have this part-time job to do. He was very close to me, and his voice fell softly in my ear. I forced myself to be calm and said goodbye to him. Only after turning and hiding behind the corner did I dare to rub my numb ears. Does this mean that Ethan also likes me a little bit? Do you still need to doubt this? Olivia was disappointed in my hesitation. We've come this far. Why don't you just go up and ask directly? Isn't that a bit inappropriate? I declined politely. After careful consideration, I finally came up with a compromise. Then what do you think of me inviting him to dinner and taking the opportunity to test him? Alcohol gives courage to the timid. If it doesn't work out, I'll just pretend to be drunk and pretend that nothing happened. This time, it was Olivia's turn to hesitate. With your drinking capacity, won't it be too difficult to pretend to be drunk? Who are you looking down on? I picked an appropriate time and invited Ethan out for dinner. The location was chosen at a barbecue restaurant off campus. Olivia initially thought it was inappropriate because this was supposed to be the first time I had dinner alone with Ethan, but I thought it was beneficial for me to play on my home ground, so Olivia nodded in agreement. When the boss saw me, he smiled. The same as before? I immediately refused. No, I'm here with a friend this time. Let him choose what he likes. Are you kidding me? Do I want Ethan to see the boss directly bring out a dozen bottles of beer? Ethan ordered a few things and then handed the menu to me. I added a little bit just to show and also reservedly ordered 2 cans of beer. Girls should try not to drink when they're out, Ethan said. I smiled at him attentively. But I have you here. Ethan was stunned for a moment and then raised his eyebrows and smiled. Do you trust me so much? Of course, you're Ethan. Ethan opened the bottle cap with one hand and handed it to me. I ate some food first and then took a couple of sips slowly, wondering how I could ask naturally and also pretend to be drunk naturally. Ethan, actually, I have a question that I've always wanted to ask, handsome guy. Can I add you on Instagram? A girl with flamboyant makeup came over with a smile. Tisk. With Ethan's looks, he really attracts attention everywhere. Ethan calmly refused. Sorry. The girl seemed to notice me only then. She looked me up and down and then leaned closer to Ethan again. Do you have a girlfriend? Ethan slightly raised his eyelids, and his black eyes looked steadily at me. No, I'm still chasing her. My heart suddenly skipped a beat, and I almost dropped the beer can in my hand. The girl pouted and didn't give up. So it hasn't worked out yet? It doesn't matter if I add you on Instagram. 3 tough guys with big gold chains behind her also came over, speaking in a fierce tone. My sister is giving you face by wanting to add you on Instagram. Don't be ungrateful. Ethan's face turned cold, but the 3 tough guys didn't stop. They looked at me, and one of them whistled. But this girl is really pretty and has a good figure. Especially these legs. Ethan punched out. My heart suddenly lifted. Ethan. The fight ended much faster than I expected. Although Ethan looked slender, he could fight 3 people at once. Half an hour later, I bought medicine from the pharmacy and came out. I pulled him to sit down beside a quiet flower bed. Under the dim street light, the wound on his face was particularly clear. I didn't say anything, just feeling guilty and heartbroken. It was Ethan who spoke first, in a relaxed tone. It's just a minor injury. The 3 of them are much more seriously injured than me. I took out a cotton swab and dipped it in iodine. Lower your head. He cooperatively bent down. The safe distance was broken, and I could even clearly see his eyelashes. I could smell his breath. The cool autumn wind blew, but it couldn't compare to the warmth of his breath, which occupied all my senses. I was lost in thought for a while before I realized that I had been staring at Ethan in a daze for a long time. I suppressed my somewhat racing heartbeat and said in a low voice, "Okay, Ethan let out a low hum from his nose but didn't back away. This posture was very much like preparing for a kiss. Just a little closer. His lips really seemed suitable for a kiss. I thought in a daze and quietly asked, "Ethan, are you drunk?" He paused and then asked back, "What do you think?" He hadn't touched that can of beer. I held my breath and looked up to meet his gaze. Then, woof, an enthusiastic Samoyed suddenly rushed towards us. God knows I'm most afraid of dogs. After the Samoyed's owner repeatedly apologized and dragged the dog away, Ethan finally spoke, his tone both helpless and amused. "Okay, it's already gone." I peeked out and confirmed that the fluffy thing had really gone far away. Finally, I let out a sigh of relief. Then I discovered an even more serious problem. I was hiding behind Ethan, and my 2 hands were still tightly hugging his slender waist. Hug, hug. I could even clearly feel the warm and firm abdominal muscles under his thin shirt. Ethan slightly tilted his head. "Really, I'm not lying to you. I know, but the key thing now isn't that dog. It's me." I let go of my hands like I'd been electrocuted and took 3 steps back in a row. Sorry. Ethan turned around. Under the streetlight, the wrinkles on his shirt that I had grabbed tightly were still clearly visible. I felt even more ashamed and carefully reached out my hand, wanting to help him straighten it out, but Ethan grabbed my wrist. He raised his eyebrows and looked at me, and I felt like crying. "I really didn't mean to covet your body. Ethan." In this situation, it was obviously too late to pretend to be drunk. I decided to just go for it. "I found that your muscle lines are really good. How about taking your clothes off next time?" No. To take off or not to take off, that is the question. Confessing and being a pervert, it seems hard to tell which is worse. Ethan suddenly laughed, and I looked at him in a daze. He flicked my forehead with his index finger, and his deep voice with a smile was almost blown away by the wind. "Emily, why are you so timid?" That night, it was probably the closest I had ever been to him. But unfortunately, fate wasn't on my side, and I missed it for nothing such a great opportunity. In that atmosphere, it really seemed like there was just a thin layer of window paper between us. But once the moment passed, I cowardly shrank back again. I lost both the lady and the soldiers. I sighed regretfully. I didn't get the sketchbook back, didn't figure out his feelings, and instead completely embarrassed myself in front of Ethan. I didn't have the face to see him anymore. So for the next 2 weeks, I found all kinds of excuses and canceled the drawing arrangements I had made with him before. Ethan didn't ask too much either. He agreed to everything I said. I should have felt relieved, but looking at the "okay" he sent in the chat box, I felt a sense of loss. This wasn't right. He wasn't anyone special to me, and I had no reason to possess him. But liking someone is something that can't be controlled. My longing was like a vine, growing and spreading wildly. I finally couldn't hold it back and dragged Olivia and others out for a painting trip, hoping to distract myself. When we came back, a group of us entered a coffee shop, and who would have thought we would run into Ethan? The boy was tall and slender, cold and abstinent. Just looking at him once, I quickly lowered my head. The news that Ethan had been my life model had already spread. As soon as Olivia and the others saw him, they kept winking at me. I was so embarrassed. Today was supposed to be the day to go to the art studio. I lied to Ethan that I had to attend a lecture today and cancelled our appointment. Who would have thought I would run into him right then? I was still carrying an easel, and I felt like I was completely exposed. I didn't dare to look at him again until he came over with the menu. After a group of us chattered and placed our orders, Olivia pulled me and said, "Emily, what would you like to drink?" Before I could open my mouth, the familiar voice of the boy came. "Still orange juice?" I nodded in a panic and didn't even realize what was wrong with his words. Olivia leaned over and whispered, "Emily, even campus heartthrob Ethan knows that you like orange juice the most?" I was stunned. No, I didn't tell him that. Olivia was also confused. Then what does his words mean? I wanted to ask that too. When Ethan came to serve the coffee, I secretly looked at him several times. It felt like I hadn't seen him for a long time. How could he look even more handsome? One of my friends didn't know the delicate relationship between Ethan and me recently and thought we were very familiar. She directly smiled and teased, "Emily, why does Ethan only remember that you drink orange juice, and we have to order by ourselves? Shouldn't you treat us to this meal?" I was extremely embarrassed. "Stop talking, I'll treat. Okay." However, before I could make up for it, Ethan spoke first. "I'll treat." The whole group fell silent for 3 seconds, and then they all said, "Oh," in unison and started cheering. I stood up with a whoosh sound and pulled him aside, anxious. "Ethan, what are you doing?" Ethan rested his elbow on the table. "What's wrong?" I pursed my lips, trying to be euphemistic. "You work so hard part-time here. How can you spend so much money?" "Brother Ethan, that batch of coffee beans has arrived. What do you think?" A clerk came over. Seeing the two of us standing together, he quickly shut up and left. I widened my eyes slightly. "Wait a minute, what does this mean?" Ethan nodded in agreement. It is quite tiring to run a store part-time. The amount of information in this sentence was too large, and I looked at him in disbelief. "So, this is his store? Who on earth lied to me that he came from a poor family?" Quote, "Then why did you still agree to be my part-time model?" A guess emerged, and my heart started beating fast. I couldn't say the rest of the words. Ethan looked at me steadily, as if smiling. "Emily, don't you really know?" The answer was on the tip of my tongue. It seemed that as long as I reached out my hand, I could touch it. But life is so coincidental. The glass door was pushed open, and some familiar laughter came. I instinctively turned my head and saw Jennifer coming in with a few of her girlfriends. She also saw me and Ethan standing beside me. The smile on her face faded at a visible speed. "Order." I have to say that Jennifer has a good psychological quality. She quickly adjusted her state in just a few seconds. The clerk who had run away just now quickly popped up again. "What would you like to drink, ladies?" Jennifer raised her chin. "I think that little brother over there seems to be quite free. Let him come over." Both the clerk and I were silent. "Why couldn't you choose someone else to serve you? You had to choose the boss?" Ethan said. "Sorry, I don't have time." Jennifer was rejected and felt a bit embarrassed. She looked at me again and suddenly smiled. "What, are you busy listening to a confession?" My eyebrows twitched, and I had a bad feeling. However, before I could stop her, Jennifer pointed at me and smiled meaningfully. "Ethan, don't you know that the sketchbook that was hung up at the Lost and Found, which was all filled with drawings of you, actually, it belongs to her?" I had thought of 10,000 possibilities of Ethan finding out about this, but I never expected this one. "There's a E on the last page of that sketchbook. I've seen it several times, and it's hers." Jennifer shrugged. "Emily, it's one thing for you to secretly draw him, but you also asked him to be your life model. What's your intention?" The whole coffee shop was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. I didn't care about arguing with Jennifer. There was only one thought in my mind. Ethan knows. What will he think of me? Will he think that I clenched my fingers tightly and desperately thought about how to explain to Ethan. But suddenly I heard a soft laugh. Ethan turned his head to look at me and said word by word, "Emily, didn't you tell them that I'm chasing you?" Jennifer still didn't place an order in the end, and I guess she won't come again in the future. holding that cup of iced orange juice for a long time. The heat on my face still hadn't subsided. Actually, it was already autumn, and the evening wind was a bit chilly, but I was still extremely hot all over. "Shall we go?" Ethan came over and asked. I looked up, met his gaze, felt a warmth in my heart, and quickly avoided his eyes. Then I realized, "Where are Olivia and the others?" Ethan said, "They left just now, while you were in a daze." Me. This best friend is really reliable. Ethan picked up his coat. "It's getting late. I'll walk you back." This wasn't a question, but a statement. We walked in silence all the way. I could still smell the faint coffee scent on him. Everything seemed like a dream. Actually, I had a lot of questions to ask, but at this moment, I didn't know where to start. Some things, it seemed, there had been signs all along. "Emily." Ethan stopped and handed me something. "The sketchbook. Do you still want it?" When he really asked that, my legs went a bit weak. All my secret crush feelings were now so obvious. I reached out my trembling hand to take it. "Why, yes," Ethan suddenly said again. "Your painting skills are quite good." My hand was holding a corner of the sketchbook. I didn't know whether to take it or not. He has seen it. He must have seen all of it. Thinking about the thing that I pretended to be bad at painting before was so embarrassing. How on earth did he endure it until now? It's okay, I guess. I wanted to end this topic as soon as possible, but Ethan wouldn't let me. I found for the first time that he was so persistent in getting to the bottom of things. "Which one do you think is the best?" I was stunned for a moment. "What?" Ethan looked down at me, and his Adam's apple moved up and down. After a moment, he repeated in a low voice, "I want to know which me does the girl I've liked for a year like the most." Hearing those words, my heart started beating uncontrollably fast. A year? A year? Then he, after a while, I shook my head in embarrassment. "I can't choose." He suddenly laughed, took my hand, and planted a kiss on it. "Then don't choose. Anyway, Ethan belongs to you completely." That night, Ethan posted a status on Facebook. The picture attached was still the last page of that sketchbook, but this time, there was another E signed together with it. Emily. Ethan. The caption was, "Found her." I thought of that urgent search status I posted before and pressed the back of my hand against my face. This guy. He had been waiting here for a long time. Because of his official announcement, the school's online forum exploded directly. There was also an explosive reaction on Facebook, filled with all kinds of inquiries, screams, and blessings. I had to go to the bathroom and wash my face. It took me a long time to calm down. The person I had a crush on for so long actually liked me too. I held my phone and replied to Ethan's message. "I still feel a bit unreal." Ethan directly called me. "Are you going to the art studio tomorrow?" I blinked. He already knew why I asked him to be my life model. Why was he still asking like this? "Didn't you just praise my painting skills? Then there should be no need for..." My girlfriend said she feels a bit unreal, so I think as her boyfriend, I need to show my presence. Ethan paused, his voice with a smile. "Just be your private life model, for free." "Miss Emily, what do you think?" I had a tomato red face and said seriously, "Mr. Ethan, are you ready to dedicate yourself to art?" Ethan let out a low laugh. "It's my greatest honor." Ethan's side story. The first time I saw Emily, she was carrying an easel, her long hair casually tied up, a few spots of paint on the hem of her clothes, and a baseball cap covering half of her face. When she drank coffee, that half of her face would wrinkle up. So that coffee shop, which was originally just opened for fun, became a place I often went to after that. I often went to the store to wait for her, and I was worried that she didn't like coffee and wouldn't go there again. Fortunately, after the school started, I ran into her again. It turned out that she was from the art school and was admitted with the first place in her major. It turned out that her name was Emily. The law school and the art school were too far apart. But fortunately, sometimes she would come to the coffee shop with her friends, and sometimes she would come alone. She would order a cup of orange juice, hold an easel, and stay there quietly. Occasionally, she would pick up a pen. Her profile was serene, and when she smiled, her eyes and eyebrows were lively. I saw that sketchbook many times. She carefully treasured it. What was in it? Something that she treated so preciously. I was a bit envious. Not just a bit. Many times I wanted to go up and say hello, but I didn't dare, until I saw that sketchbook at the Lost and Found. She had a lot of whimsical ideas, but she was also prone to backing down. But finally, I was lucky enough, so lucky that I discovered all the feelings she had carefully hidden. That day she asked me if I was drunk. She didn't know that if a person wants to be drunk, they don't need alcohol. I almost kissed her. She deliberately hid away. It took me a great deal of effort to restrain myself and wait patiently for her, day after day. But the moment I saw her again, I felt that all my plans were meaningless. Her presence here was the only meaning, so, I confessed, wanting her to understand that Ethan belonged to her. The secret crush was grand and brilliant. I was lucky enough to finally see the light. Hello, I've liked you for a long time. My Emily.